I was the ex-husband everyone saw as a cuckolded doormat, but the internet crowned me the ultimate winner for cutting his losses. My startup even blew up because of my trashy divorce drama, with clients knocking on my door after reading all about it. What those who laughed at me didn't get is that I never do business out of pity. I win by offering better terms and delivering superior results, making myself indispensable on every project. This marriage didn't teach me hate. It taught me that moving forward is infinitely more productive than standing around cursing the past. Their world and mine are no longer on the same plane. My wife, Olivia, was overseas on a business trip for 3 years. The day she returned, I went to the airport to pick her up. I never expected to see her with a 6-month-old baby in tow. My coworkers joked, "The kid might not be yours, but the wife still is." Little did they know, Olivia would turn around and hand me divorce papers. But this time, I was the one who no longer wanted her. My wife's name is Olivia, and she's as beautiful as she is captivating. She was promoted quickly not long after joining the company. 3 years ago, she was sent overseas for a long-term assignment. She told me, 3 years for $1 million. When I come back, our lives will be so much better. Today was the day she was due back. I took the day off specifically to meet her at the airport. I spotted her from a distance. After 3 years, Olivia's figure was a little fuller than before, which only made her look more alluring. I waved frantically to get her attention. That's when I noticed a woman in her 50s following behind her, holding a small baby. As they drew closer, Olivia actually reached out and took the child into her own arms. I froze for a second, then quickly reassured myself. She must just be helping look after someone else's kid. I even praised her silently. As kind as she is beautiful. Honey, I couldn't help but call out. Olivia made her way through the crowd. The moment she saw me, she handed the baby back to the woman beside her. "You two go on ahead and wait for me in the car." The baby started crying for Olivia, and the other woman cooed at it, saying, "Hush now, don't cry. Mommy will be right back." That word, mommy, sent a jolt through my entire body. Mommy? I stared blankly at Olivia. Did she just say mommy? Olivia's face was grim as she spoke. "Lucas, we need to talk." She stepped aside, and I immediately followed. As I got close, I caught the faint, unmistakable scent of milk on her. The way she carried herself had a new, motherly quality to it. "Olivia, what is going on with that baby? Don't tell me you had a kid while you were gone these past 3 years." Olivia's expression turned to ice. "You saw. I wasn't going to hide it from you. I gave birth to him. But I will give you a proper explanation. You should go home for now. I have some things to take care of, and I'll call you when I'm finished. Let's leave it at that." She walked away without another word or a backward glance. I just stood there, stunned for what felt like a long time before my brain kicked back into gear and I hurried after her. But I only caught sight of her being pulled into an embrace by our boss, Jerry. Then the two of them got into a Mercedes parked to the curb. Jerry? My heart plummeted. 3 years ago, Jerry had also been assigned to an overseas post. Before he left, I had even given him several expensive gifts, asking him to please look out for Olivia for me. It turns out he looked out for her, right into his bed. My knuckles cracked as I clenched my fists. I turned around and drove straight back to the office. Since she brought the baby back today, Olivia was obviously going home first. As for which home that was, it certainly wasn't going to be mine. My eyes were burning as I sped back to the office. As I approached the break room, I could hear a few people whispering inside. Heard Olivia is getting a promotion the second she's back. Goes to show, pretty women sure climb the ladder fast. It's all because of the kid. She gave him a son. But Jerry can't marry her, so he has to give her something as compensation. Lucas sure has thick skin, living as a kept man without a shred of guilt. He's basically using his wife as a surrogate. Hearing their words, a loud buzzing filled my ears. I felt as if I'd been plunged into a freezing lake. They knew. They knew all along that Olivia went overseas with Jerry, and they'd been hiding it from me this whole time. I was the idiot completely in the dark, even joking with them about how much I missed my wife. I'd even told Olivia I wanted to find the time to fly out and visit her. But she always had an excuse. She'd say it was too inconvenient over there, that the travel back and forth would eat up more than a week, a waste of both time and money. She would tell me with a straight face, "Lucas, I'm doing this for our family. Can't you just be patient?" Be patient? I was patient for 3 long years, not seeing her even once. And this is what I got for it. At that thought, I clear my throat softly. The people in the break room immediately whipped their heads around to look at me, their faces a mask of pure awkwardness. "Lucas, you here to get some coffee?" One of them stammered. "Yeah, and to catch up on all the office gossip," I replied icily. One of them, a guy named Kevin, had the nerve to speak up. "You know, it's not really a big deal. Most guys would kill to be in your position. Think about it. You've been collecting your full paycheck for 3 years. Your wife's been overseas making the big bucks for you. And when she gets back, she's on track to be a director. So what's it feel like to have it so good? Share some of your secrets with the rest of us, man." There was a clear, malicious glint in his eye when he said it. I knew exactly what his deal was. He'd been unhappy on my team for a long time. He spent his days slacking off, but was an expert at kissing up. The guys in Team 2 had been asking to take him. My original plan was to just transfer him at the end of the month. But now I couldn't stand the thought of him being here another minute. But before he was gone for good, there were a few scores that needed to be settled. I smiled at Kevin. "For a grown man, you sure love to gossip like a housewife. With that talent for running your mouth, you've got a real future in client relations. In fact, I know a shortcut to get you there. Want to hear it?" I crooked my finger, motioning for him to come closer. He actually leaned his head in. I forced down the rage building inside me and whispered in his ear, "Just drop your pants and sell yourself. It's that simple, right?" "What did you just say?" he snapped, his head jerking up. I held up my hands. "You asked me to share my secrets, didn't you? What's the matter? Can't handle a little honesty?" "Lucas, I'm just trying to help you save some face," Kevin sneered. "It's bad enough you're a kept man who's totally fine with it. The kid isn't yours, but hey, you still have a wife. When Jerry moves up to an executive role at corporate," he continued, "just have your wife pop out another one for him. You can't lose, no matter how you look at it." The moment he said that, the others erupted in laughter. That was it for me. I lunged at him, tackling him to the ground, and started swinging. The scrawny punk was no match for me. He started screaming and begging for mercy. At first, our coworkers just watched and egged us on, but when they saw I was serious, that I was really trying to hurt him, they rushed in to pull us apart. I shook out my bruised knuckles. "We all know who the real kept man is here, don't we?" I sneered. "Lucas, you just wait. I'm calling the cops." Kevin shrieked. "Go ahead." Just then, Jerry walked in, his face a thundercloud. "What is going on in here? What's all this shouting about calling the police?" "Jerry, Lucas attacked me." Kevin whined. "Look at my face, look what he did to me." Jerry stared at me for a few long seconds. "Lucas, this is an office, not a bar," he said finally. "You assaulted a coworker. You can forget about your performance bonus this month." Hearing that, Kevin let out a triumphant, ugly laugh. "Lucas, I'm not going to press charges," Kevin said. "Just give me $50,000, and we'll forget this ever happened." "Fine by me. Let's call the cops," I said. "I recorded everything that came out of your filthy mouth just now. If we take this to the police, it's not going to end well for either of us." Kevin's face twisted in rage. Jerry held up a hand to stop him. "That's enough. Everyone, break it up. Adults need to take responsibility for their words and actions," Jerry said. "Kevin, come with me to my office." Kevin, fuming, followed him into his office. I scanned the remaining crowd and said in a cold, hard voice, "If I ever hear any of you talking about me behind my back again," I said, "you'll get the same thing." "Lucas, aren't you afraid you'll be fired?" someone muttered. "Yeah. Who do you think you are?" I just shrugged. "Afraid of what? I'll just find another job. I'm not worried. But what about you all? In this economy," I continued, "can any of you guarantee you can just quit and have another offer lined up?" The break room went completely silent. No one dared to say another word. I don't like to brag, but when it comes to professional competence, I'm second to none in this place. Truth be told, if Olivia hadn't insisted we come to this company together, I never would have given it a second look. My performance record over the last 5 years speaks for itself, and everyone in the company knows it. And Olivia knows better than anyone how she was propped up and carried into her manager position. It's just that after so long, she started to actually believe she earned it all through her own merit. But there was no rush. I was curious to see what their game was. About half an hour later, Kevin emerged from the office with the HR manager at his side. The manager stood there and watched as Kevin packed up his desk and left. Now that, I admit, was a little surprising. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" the HR manager announced, clearing his throat. "Effective today, any employee who insults or provokes a colleague without cause will be terminated immediately. Let Kevin serve as an example to you all." As soon as he finished, every eye in the room turned to me. My stomach dropped. This was a message, and it was meant for me. As Kevin walked past my desk, he snorted. "Lucas, you're a real piece of work. Pimping out your own wife just to get ahead. You're pathetic." I just let out a cold laugh, not bothering to reply. I watched him go, humiliated, then looked toward Jerry's office. The bastard was clearly setting a trap for me. I started to storm his office to have it out with him, but the HR manager stepped in my way. "Hang on, Jerry's on a video call right now. You can't go in." I stared at him for 2 seconds. "You saw what I just did to Kevin. If I do the same to you, right now, who do you think Jerry will punish? You or me?" The HR manager froze, completely at a loss for words. I was about to shove past him and force the door open when Jerry himself emerged from the office. His face darkened the moment he saw me blocking his door. "What do you want?" "Jerry, I can't tell if you got a bad memory or if you're just playing dumb. You said you were going to give me an explanation, or would you rather we discuss it out here, in front of everyone?" He hesitated for a second before lowering his voice. "Let's take this outside." He gestured for me to follow him and started walking. I fell and stepped behind him, noticing how tightly his brow was furrowed. We went down to the parking garage and got into his car. Jerry picked up a manila envelope from the center console and handed it to me. I could feel the weight of it. A thick stack of cash, maybe 10 grand. "What's this?" I asked. "Lucas, take the money," he said. "Keep your head down, keep working at the company, and we can all just pretend none of this ever happened." "Keep working here?" I repeated. "You slept with my wife," I said, "and now you think you could just throw some cash at me and I'll act like everything's fine?" I grabbed him by the collar. "Tell me," I snarled through clenched teeth. "How long has this been going on?" Jerry's expression was dangerously grim. "The details don't matter. In addition to the cash, there's a debit card," he said. "It has $3 million on it. That's $1 million for each of the last 3 years. You're not losing out on this deal, Lucas. You have 3 days to think about it. This is my one and only offer. For every day you wait, I'm taking $1 million off the table." I was about to let him have it, but he grabbed my wrist. "You'd better think very carefully before you say another word. Don't forget who runs things at the company now," he threatened. "It doesn't matter to me if you agree or not. Once this whole thing gets out, I can crush you with the snap of my fingers." It was a blatant threat. I let out a cold laugh and slapped him hard across the face. Then I dragged him out of the car and started wailing on him. Jerry was a good 7 or 8 years older than me and half a head taller, but he was soft. It only took a few punches before I had him pinned against the hood of the car, completely helpless. He was furious. "Lucas, you dare hit me?" he screamed. "I'll kill you." I drove my elbow into his ribs, and the pain drained the color from his face. I grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. "Jerry, you son of a bitch, you touch my wife," I roared. The next thing I knew, I was being hauled off him by a powerful force. Security guards had rushed over and were pinning me to the ground. Jerry staggered to his feet, his face beet red. "Call the police," he shrieked. "Call the police right now." "Don't call them." It was Olivia's voice. She was hurrying over from the direction of the fire escape. That's when I realized she'd been there, watching the whole time. "Let him go," she told the guards. "I'll talk to him." Jerry dusted himself off, got back in his car, and drove off. The guards let me go but stayed close, watching me, ready to jump in again if needed. I stared at her, my eyes burning. "You didn't say anything before. I assumed you were forced. Just say the word, Olivia. I'll make this right for you right now." But Olivia just looked annoyed. "Don't be an idiot, Lucas," she said. "Let's just make this a clean break." A white-hot anger flared up inside me as I looked at her. "Olivia, we've only been married 4 years. You've been cheating on me for 3 of them. How could you do that to me? She, on the other hand, was perfectly calm. I don't know if you're stupid or just naive, she said. When does a junior employee ever get put in charge of the company's overseas operations? The company has an unwritten rule. They only send men to handle the international accounts. I had been surprised when she was chosen. But at the time, Olivia had sworn up and down that her skills were so exceptional the company was willing to make an exception just for her. Now she was using that very same story to mock my stupidity. She glanced down at her phone, and I saw the screen light up with a picture of the 3 of them, a perfect little family. It's ironic, isn't it, Lucas? She said. You can't give me the life I want. Let's just get a divorce. I want to move on with my life, and I want to be completely free. I stared at her, my chest so tight it felt like someone had reached in and squeezed my heart. For our entire marriage, she was my whole world. I was constantly worried about her, wondering if she was eating or sleeping well, if anyone was giving her a hard time overseas. I sent her packages almost every month. I was worried she wouldn't have enough money out there on her own, so the very first thing I did on payday was send her a transfer. I put her on a pedestal. I cherish her. I missed her. I worried about her constantly. Every corner of our home was filled with memories of her. And now, she could say divorce so easily, as if all the years we'd spent together meant nothing at all. After a long, heavy silence, I finally asked, "Are you absolutely sure about this? Are you asking if I want a divorce?" "Yes, I do," she replied. "The truth is, Jerry and I already got married overseas. We just came back to finalize the paperwork here. Don't make a scene. It's not like you're losing anything." Her voice was dripping with undisguised contempt. In that moment, it finally hit me. To her, I was nothing more than a stepping stone, something to be used and then thrown away. Since she was being so cold-blooded about it, there was no reason for me to hang on to the past. I nodded, the corners of my mouth even turning up into a slight smile. "Fine," I said. "Just don't regret this." "I won't," she replied without a moment's hesitation. "Good. Then I wish the 2 of you a lifetime of happiness together. May you never be parted." With that, I took my wallet and headed back upstairs. Back at my desk, I immediately submitted my resignation. The HR manager was stunned. He clearly hadn't expected me to come back from my trip downstairs with a completely different attitude. Whispers broke out all over the office, but I ignored them. A young guy on my team, Alex, pulled me aside. "Boss, are you really leaving?" he asked. "Don't listen to all their crap. If you go, what's going to happen to us?" Alex had been with me the longest. He joined my team right out of college, and over the years, he'd really come into his own. Seeing the worry on his face, I clapped him on the shoulder. "All good things must come to an end," I said. "But once I land on my feet, I'll bring you all with me." His eyes immediately lit up. "Really? I knew you wouldn't just take this lying down. I heard all the horrible things they were saying," he added. "I'm with you. Just make sure you call me when the time comes." I gave his shoulder another firm pat. The young guys on my team had been with me for years. They knew what I was capable of. Only a fool like Jerry would think losing me was no big deal. And some people actually believed Olivia had earned all that money for the company on her own merit. I laughed to myself. To help her get a foothold in this company, I pulled every string my family had. Her resume was average, and her skills were nothing special. If I hadn't been propping her up, she wouldn't have even made it past her probationary period, let alone gotten promoted. But that's all in the past now. Since we were getting divorced, I had no reason to keep paving her way and feeding her resources. As soon as the handover was complete, I was ready to walk out the door. Jerry was standing off to the side, watching me with a smug look on his face. I just flipped him the bird. "Have fun with my sloppy seconds," I said. The color drained from both their faces. Then I turned to Olivia. "Make sure you get all your stuff out of my house. I don't want any of it left behind." "Don't bother. Just throw it all out," she replied, her voice cold. "Fine by me. It's all junk anyway." I didn't look at her again. I just turned and walked into the elevator. The moment the doors slid shut, the tears I'd been holding in all day finally came flooding out. A fire was raging inside me. I swore to myself that one day I would make them pay. After my resignation was finalized, I posted a status update on Facebook announcing the divorce. It wasn't long before my phone was blowing up with messages and calls. A lot of friends asked me to go out for a drink. I said yes to every single one. When they heard that Olivia had a baby with another man, everyone was speechless. "Lucas, that's insane," one of them said. "It's like something out of a soap opera." "You're just going to let her get away with it?" another asked. "You're not going to sue?" "Hell no, you can't let them get away with that," a third one chimed in. "Just tell us where those two bastards live, and we'll go pay them a visit." I quickly held them back. "Forget it, guys," I said. "They're not worth it. They're just garbage. Don't dirty your hands on them. If you really want to help, introduce me to some clients," I told them. "I'm going to start my own company, and I'm going to run him into the ground." There was something I'd never told anyone before. My family's not just comfortable, we're wealthy. I just didn't want to take over my dad's company, so I struck out on my own. And this is where it got me. When they heard I was starting my own business, they were all thrilled. "It's about time," one of them said. "Don't you worry about a thing. We'll handle the clients." They all swore they'd help, and a weight lifted off my shoulders. When I got home, I asked my dad for the startup capital. Then, I immediately registered the company. It didn't take long for word to get back to Olivia that I'd struck out on my own. She called me from a new number, and I answered without thinking, only to hear her voice on the other end. "Lucas, what's the point of all this?" she asked. "It's over between us. Are you doing all this just to get my attention? It's pathetic." I couldn't help but laugh. "You really think the world revolves around you, don't you? It's a big market. Just because your company is in it doesn't mean I can't be too. And if Jerry can't even handle a small startup like mine," I added, "then you place your bets on the wrong man. Just you wait. You're going to have a long, long time to regret your decision." Olivia was still trying to argue, but I was done listening. I hung up the phone and prepared for war. The university I went to wasn't anything special, but my major was one of the best in the country. A lot of the big names in the industry today are my old classmates and alumni. The moment I put the word out, people started reaching out to help. During the first month of the company's existence, in the early days, I was constantly on the move, meeting people, shaking hands. I'd have dinner with one contact one day and drinks with another the next, slowly building my network. By the second month, we started landing a few small contracts. The company finally had some revenue, so I hired a few more people. We were still small, but we were growing. It was right around then that I ran into Olivia and Jerry. I had just closed a pretty significant deal that day. I was in a great mood, so I took the team out to celebrate. I saw Olivia from a distance and was planning to just pretend I hadn't and keep walking. But then Jerry had to open his big mouth. Well, if it isn't Lucas," he called out. "I hear you started your own company. Good for you. That's real ambitious." The words were positive, but his tone was pure contempt. "It's a tough market out there right now. Starting a business is a huge risk. You'd better hold on to whatever family money you have left. It'd be a shame to lose it all." "You don't need to worry about me," I said, giving him a cool glance. "Speaking of you two, it's been 3 months now. Funny, I haven't gotten my wedding invitation yet. You'd better get a move on. You don't want people talking about you two shacking up without a ring on her finger. Stealing your subordinate's wife is already a bad look," I said. "If you're not even going to marry her, what's she even getting out of this?" My eyes landed on Olivia. "So, what is it you're really after?" Olivia's face flushed with anger. "It's none of your business," she snapped. "You should take a good look at yourself," she retorted. "All those old alumni friends of yours have been calling me. They told me you've been going around begging for scraps. Without a big corporation behind you, all those connections you have are worthless." I wasn't bothered in the slightest. I'd actually asked my old friends to spread those rumors for me. It was all a ploy to make them underestimate me, to make them think I was no threat, and hopefully to get them to leave me alone. I just smiled, not bothering to explain. Jerry, meanwhile, was sizing me up with a look of smug superiority. For the past 3 months, in between running my business and meeting with clients, I had someone looking into the two of them. Jerry was, for all intents and purposes, a successful man. He should have had his pick of women. So why Olivia? She wasn't the most beautiful woman in the company, and more importantly, she was a divorcee. What was his angle? I only started seriously considering these questions after the divorce. So I hired someone to do some digging, and sure enough, they found something. I hadn't told Olivia a thing. Seeing her putting on such a brave face today only made me more eager for the day the truth finally came out. I couldn't wait to see the look on her face. I gave them a dismissive wave. Well, you two enjoy your dinner. I'm leaving. Jerry couldn't resist one last snide remark. Hey, Lucas, if things don't work out for you, there's always a place for you here, he said. The security department is hiring. It's always good to have a backup plan. I heard a few snickers from behind me, but I didn't even bother to turn around. I just walked away. I gave myself a deadline. If he didn't marry her within 3 months, and then another 3 months went by, I would start actively poaching his clients. At first, Jerry didn't seem to notice. But then my old team members started resigning, one by one, and coming to work for me. That's when he started to panic. 6 months later, we came face to face for the first time as direct competitors. We were both at the airport, vying for the SE Corporation project. Jerry and his team got there before us. They staked out the most prominent spot right at the arrivals gate, completely blocking our view. You're too late, Lucas, Jerry said smugly. One wrong move, and the whole game is lost. I suggest you just go home and get some rest. One of my guys, a young man named Leo, started to get angry and move forward, but I put a hand on his chest to stop him. What's the rush? You want to get yourself killed? Let them stand there and wait. We're going outside. I took Leo to a cafe in the airport. We got coffee and breakfast and found a table to sit and eat at a leisurely pace. Halfway through our meal, I casually ordered another breakfast to go. Leo was getting antsy. Boss, aren't we going to meet the client? He asked. The project lead, Mr. Sheen, is the one coming today. If we snub him, we can kiss this deal goodbye. We won't lose it, I said. Don't worry. He'll come find us in a minute. Leo still looked unconvinced, but he settled down and waited with me. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man walked toward us. He was wearing a brand-name polo shirt and cargo shorts, looking like he was ready for a vacation. He was pulling a large suitcase and headed straight for our table. I immediately stood up and moved to open the car door. Uncle, you finally made it. I handed him the breakfast I'd ordered to go and shot a look at Leo, who immediately went to take the man's suitcase. Leo was stunned. Uncle está merez. That's right, my uncle, I said. He's the one who convinced me to go into this field in the first place. Now he's a major player in the industry. He's also the lead on this SE Corporation project. Leo's jaw dropped. He just stood there for a second before giving me a huge thumbs up. After we got in the car, my uncle looked me over. You little brat, he said with a sigh. You ended up in this business after all. Don't laugh, uncle, I said. It's not like I had much of a choice. But it's not all bad, I continued. At least this time, I'm working for myself, not for someone else. My uncle burst out laughing and clapped me on the shoulder. As long as you understand that, you'll be fine. I'm staying with you this time, he said. I'm sick of hotels. No problem at all. I snapped my fingers and told Leo to drive straight to my new house. I'd sold my old house and was now living in a small villa my father had given me. I'd converted one of the spare rooms into a home office. I brought Leo and my uncle back to the villa, and we closed the door and got right down to business. Meanwhile, Jerry and his team were probably going crazy. They'd been waiting at the airport all morning, and by the time my uncle and I had hammered out the details of the contract, they still hadn't even caught a glimpse of their target. I heard later that Jerry was so furious he was practically hopping mad at the airport. I laughed so hard I nearly fell over. So what if he got there first? It didn't matter when the man in charge was my uncle. After he signed the contract, my uncle's expression grew serious. No one gets to bully my family and get away with it, he said. Southeast Corporation is hosting a business reception soon. I'll announce our new partnership there. It's time for you to get your revenge, kid. Thanks, uncle. It wasn't just the SE project either. I struck while the iron was hot, poaching several more of Jerry's key accounts and signing the contracts as fast as I could. After that, I arranged a small dinner with a few industry friends and my uncle. Our industry is a small world. Everyone knows everyone, and there are no secrets. Once everyone knew about my connection to my uncle, they understood the situation. Doing business is one thing. Picking a side is another. I enjoyed that dinner immensely. On my way to the restroom, I ran into Olivia. Her face was swollen and bruised, and her eyes were brimming with tears. The moment she saw me, her expression soured. I acted like she wasn't even there and started to walk past her. But she called out my name from behind. Lucas. I glanced over my shoulder at her. Yeah. My coldness clearly made her feel a mix of disappointment and anxiety. You must be feeling pretty pleased with yourself right now, huh? She asked. Thinking you've finally gotten your revenge. You've been laughing at me this whole time, haven't you? I almost had a laugh. I am, I said. But you'll have to be more specific. Which screw-up are you talking about? Are we talking about the time you cheated on me and had a baby with your boss? I asked. Or the time you got your face smashed in by a client you were out drinking with? I made sure to raise my voice, and I saw a few heads turn in our direction, including a couple of waiters. They all had the same look on their faces. They were ready for some drama. The color drained from Olivia's face. She clearly hadn't expected me to air her dirty laundry in public. She was trembling with rage. You, she stammered. I reached out and patted her lightly on the shoulder. Try to be a better person, I said. Then I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, pale with fury. I, on the other hand, felt fantastic. That's just the way I am. I might not be the best at everything, but I'm an expert at holding a grudge, and I'm especially good at getting under people's skin. Olivia was livid, but there was nothing she could do about it. What happened to her after that was no longer any of my concern. The next time I saw her was at the SE Corporation reception. She looked worn out, but at least she seemed to have learned some humility. She was on Jerry's arm, a glass of champagne in her hand, moving through the crowd with a forced smile plastered on her face. When she spotted me, she pulled Jerry in my direction. Lucas, I'm surprised to see you here all by yourself, Jerry said. I was actually getting a little excited. I couldn't wait to see their faces when the announcement was made. I smiled. With both of you here, why would I have any reason to be scared? I hear SE Corporation is announcing their new partner tonight, I said. What's the matter, Jerry? Getting nervous? You didn't seem to have much luck at the airport the other day, did you? Jerry's face fell. He straightened his suit jacket and turned to Olivia. Go find out what's going on. She went to ask around and came back a minute later, nodding. They're about to make the announcement, she said. I heard they've already made their decision. It looks like we were too late. The color drained from Jerry's face. Who's the lucky company? He muttered. Since you took over, you haven't closed a single decent project, he snapped at Olivia. And you've lost us several of our old clients. He started berating her right there in front of me. Her face turned bright red. I watched, thoroughly enjoying the show. She knew better than anyone where those clients had come from. Without me, she was finally learning just how hard this business could be. I decided to chime in. SE's new partner, I announced, is Apex Innovations. Jerry froze for a second, then burst out laughing. Don't tell me that's your pathetic little company. He laughed, loud and obnoxious, making sure everyone around us could hear. Heads started to turn in our direction. This kid's completely full of it, he announced to the room. He's telling people SE Corporation is partnering with his little startup. You couldn't make this stuff up in your wildest dreams. He was still laughing when he noticed how quiet the room had gotten. He looked around and saw the strange looks on everyone's faces. His smile vanished. No, it's impossible. How could it be you? I shrugged. My company might be small, I said, but it has the full backing of my father's corporation. Now, you tell me, I continued, if you were in their shoes, would you really pass up a chance to partner with us? If Jerry and Olivia had just used their brains, they would have realized that I was a golden goose they couldn't afford to offend. But it was too late. They had thrown away their best opportunity with their own two hands. Your family's corporation. Jerry managed to choke out. Someone standing nearby couldn't help but chime in. You know, the Miller Group. You've never heard of it. Of course, Lucas is Mr. Miller's only son, the man continued. Surely you've heard of him? The moment the words were out, Jerry's face turned ashen. Olivia looked like she'd been struck by lightning, completely speechless. She opened her mouth to say something, but just then, my uncle stepped out from the crowd and formally announced our new partnership to everyone. We exchanged the signed contracts right there on the spot, and the room erupted in applause. In one fell swoop, I had used my overwhelming advantage to completely turn the tables on them, and I'd done it in front of everyone. Jerry's face was the color of ash. I scanned the room and gave Olivia a slight nod. She swayed on her feet, still clearly reeling from the revelation that I was the heir to the Miller fortune. When we first got together, I had deliberately hidden my family background from her. Olivia had always said she wanted to make it on her own, that she didn't want to rely on anyone else. Seeing how independent and driven she was, I was worried that if I told her about my family, she'd just see me as some useless trust fund kid who was coasting on his parents' money. So I kept my mouth shut, bought a small house with my own money, and we started our life together. My plan was to tell her when the time was right. But Olivia was too ambitious. All she could think about was climbing the corporate ladder and making a name for herself overseas. So I just kept working, sending her money and care packages whenever I could, pouring everything I had into our marriage. And what I got in return was a complete and utter betrayal. I've never felt so cold and empty in my life. But even then, I never seriously considered how I would get revenge on her. Our paths were just too different now. Seeing her again, I felt an unexpected sense of peace. In business, you make more money by keeping a level head. Getting worked up over people like her just wasn't worth it. After the reception, my company and SE Corporation officially signed our contract. Even though he was my uncle, business was business, and we had to be clear about a few things. If I didn't deliver, he could pull the plug on the deal at any time. I put my personal feelings aside and got to work. 2 months later, Jerry's company finally went under. I had Leo and my team keeping a close eye on his clients. The second one showed any sign of jumping ship, we were there to make them an offer. After all, I was the one who had brought those clients in the first place. They were just coming back home. Naturally, Jerry couldn't sustain those kinds of losses. So when Olivia showed up in my office, I wasn't the least bit surprised. Frankly, with their level of competence, it was a miracle they'd lasted this long. She stood in front of my desk, her fists clenched, staring daggers at me. "Lucas, you've been playing me this whole time, haven't you? Is this fun for you?" I was taken aback. "Playing you?" I asked. "What are you talking about?" "Your family is loaded, and you hid it from me this whole time," she accused. "You lied to me." She started pounding on my chest with her fists. I grabbed her wrist to stop her. "Olivia, you really need to get over yourself. Listen to me," I said, my voice low and firm. "It doesn't matter if you regret it now. We are finished." At those words, the color drained from her face. "Lucas, please don't do this," she pleaded. "Get out." I had security escort her out. For one, I really didn't want to deal with her anymore. And for another, I knew that the time bomb they had set for themselves was about to go off. I was just waiting to see how Olivia would clean up the mess. But for the sake of what we once had, I couldn't stop myself from adding one last piece of advice. "Jerry is not a good man," I said. "You should get away from him as soon as you can." After that, I washed my hands of the whole affair. My security guards removed Olivia from the building, but she kept trying to find ways to corner me again. But before she could even start her pity party, the whole story broke. How she'd been the other woman, and how she'd used the baby to try to force a marriage. I actually laughed out loud when I saw the news. It had only been 2 days since she'd been in my office. Things were moving quickly. It turned out Jerry's actual wife had shown up with a few of her friends and cornered Olivia. Not only did they beat her black and blue, they stripped her naked and threw her out onto the street for a crowd of onlookers to gawk at. It was only then that she finally understood. Jerry wasn't some eligible bachelor. He was a married man. His wife had health problems and couldn't have children. So she and Jerry had cooked up a plan to have Olivia give them a son. But Olivia, poor, naive Olivia, thought Jerry was genuinely in love with her. She thought they were soulmates, and she'd been willing to divorce me and give him child. She had come back with dreams of becoming Mrs. Jerry, thinking that as soon as she arrived with the baby, she'd be welcomed into the family. But after the baby was born, Jerry had grown more and more distant, and the subject of marriage never came up. My words from a few days earlier must have planted a seed of doubt in her mind, because she went home and started fighting with Jerry. The fight made Jerry lose his patience, and he threw her out of the house. Olivia, desperate, threatened to go to the police and accuse him of rape. But that threat was what finally got his wife's attention. And his wife, who was clearly a force to be reckoned with, knew exactly how to handle a mistress. First, she publicly branded Olivia as the other woman and gave her a thorough beating. Then, she took the story to social media and let it go viral. And for the grand finale, she stripped Olivia naked in public, leaving her to be shamed and humiliated, forever branding her as a homewrecker. And through it all, Jerry stayed hidden in the shadows. He didn't say a word, didn't offer any explanation, and he certainly didn't defend her. I had to admit, the irony was delicious. This was the man Olivia had chosen. For a so-called love, she had destroyed our marriage, and this was what she had to show for it. She was now publicly branded as a mistress, and unable to bear the shame, she called me, crying and saying she regretted everything. I blocked her number immediately. Did she really think I was some kind of backup plan she could just call up whenever she wanted? That she could just throw me away and then pick me back up again? At the same time, all the sordid details of her affair with Jerry overseas started to come to light. The internet didn't care about the truth. They just wanted a good story. It wasn't long before people followed the trail of breadcrumbs and found me. "Dude, you dodged a bullet," people wrote online. "You must have seen this coming. Bro, you must have been so happy when your ex-wife got what was coming to her." That was the general sentiment online. Of course, I'd seen the video of his wife beating her up. Not only had I seen it, I'd even helped it go viral. That way, Jerry wouldn't get off so easily either. Public opinion is a double-edged sword. And in this case, the ex-husband, had come out looking like the biggest winner of all. I was labeled a devoted husband and a nice guy. People talked about how I'd waited faithfully for 3 years, only to have my wife come home and immediately kick me to the curb. I rode that wave of public sympathy, and my new company started getting a lot of attention. I seized the opportunity and poached the last few profitable projects Jerry had left. That was the final nail in his coffin. The day Jerry's company officially declared bankruptcy, Olivia showed up in my office again. She had been played for a fool, but she was still the child's mother. She was still breastfeeding, and the baby wasn't even 2 years old. Even if they went to court, Jerry wouldn't have much of a case against her. The two of them started screaming at each other right there in the lobby of my building. Olivia was shaking with rage. "I gave you a son," she screamed at him. "What? Do you have a royal dynasty to carry on? And now you can't even come up with 10 million. Jerry just sneered. You think you're worth 10 million? "There are plenty of women in the world who can have a baby," he said. "You were just convenient. You were there, and it was easy. Why else do you think I would have picked you?" Olivia completely lost it and lunged at him, scratching at his face. She drew blood. He shoved her away from him, but he pushed too hard. Olivia stumbled backward and crashed right through the glass door. There was a sickening crunch as the glass shattered. She fell through the opening, and a large shard of glass impaled her in the stomach. It was a horrifying life-or-death situation. Olivia was seriously injured and rushed to the hospital. But even from her hospital bed, she refused to settle out of court. Jerry was a complete mess, and to make matters worse, his wife showed up at the hospital and proceeded to beat the crap out of him in front of everyone. It was only then that I finally put all the pieces together. Jerry wasn't some successful businessman. He was a complete fraud, living off his wife's money. In the end, someone from SE Corporation had to step in and mediate. Jerry's wife paid Olivia $3 million in damages, and Olivia was given full custody of the child. Jerry and his wife eventually divorced, and he and Olivia ended up together officially. But their life together was anything but glamorous. His company was gone, and his ex-wife had put the word out to the entire industry. Anyone who did business with him will be blacklisted. If Jerry and Olivia had been smart, they would have taken the money and lived a quiet life with their son. It wouldn't have been a life of luxury, but at least they wouldn't have starved. But Jerry refused to accept his fate. He was determined to make a comeback and start new business. Did he have any idea how hard it is for a man in his 40s to start a business from scratch with nothing? In our industry, you need 3 things to succeed: capital, connections, and timing. He had none of the 3. Olivia's skills were average at best. The two of them floundered, and soon, all the settlement money was gone. And just when things couldn't get any worse, their son was diagnosed with autism. For them, it was a devastating blow. Jerry, in his despair, decided to blame it all on Olivia. He called her a jinx, a curse, and worse. But Olivia wasn't one to take things lying down. They had a massive, explosive fight. They became one of those miserable, bitter couples you see screaming and hitting each other in public like they'd lost their minds. I saw them once, fighting on the street, and I could only shake my head. This was the life she had fought so hard for. This was the path she had chosen. A year later, I saw her again. I was out with some clients, and we ended up at a nightclub. As soon as I walked in, I saw her. She was working as a bottle girl. I froze. I hadn't seen her in a year. She was wearing a skimpy outfit, weaving through the crowded, noisy club. She was all smiles, calling the customers and the club manager boss and sir, trying to sell a few more bottles of beer to make her commission. For a moment, I was speechless. She saw me a moment later. She froze for a second, then sauntered over, her hips swaying. "Hey, boss," she said, her voice husky. "How about you do me a favor and buy a few bottles?" I pulled out a few $100 bills and handed them to her. "How did you end up in a place like this?" I asked. "Where's Jerry?" "We split up," she said. "He took the kid." I nodded slowly. "He took the kid?" "Yeah, and I have to pay him $3,000 a month in child support." Olivia took a deep breath and forced a smile. "So, Lucas, how about you buy a few more rounds? You could cover the whole table tonight. What do you say?" I couldn't help but chuckle. "I'm not a charity," I said. "I'll pay for my table's drinks, but you're on your own for the rest." The smile vanished from her face. I shook my head and walked away. You only get to make a mistake like that once. I wasn't about to step in the same river twice. I never saw her again after that. I only heard bits and pieces about her from other people. They said she'd shacked up with some rich old man, but his kids found out and beat her up in the street. Later, I heard her son's condition got worse. He was sent to live with relatives in the countryside, and not long after, he drowned in a tragic accident. As for whether it was karma or just bad luck, I no longer cared. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. All I knew was that my company was growing, and business was better than ever. I was busy with meetings, projects, and clients. I didn't have the time or the energy to think about her. She had chosen her path, and she had to walk it to the very end. Publicly humiliated when his wife Olivia returns with her boss Jerry's baby and demands a divorce, Lucas quits his job. Revealing his hidden identity as a wealthy heir, he starts his own company and uses his resources to professionally crush his rivals. In the end, Jerry and Olivia face complete ruin, while Lucas is hailed as the ultimate winner for escaping a toxic marriage and achieving massive success on his own terms.